Hey Scorpio, this month is nothing if not intense, but you also have so much happening in the stars right now that is making you extra powerful. And if nothing else, aren't you the one who specializes in intensity? So let's take a look at what is happening for you this month. It looks like there's really going to be quite a bit going on and kind of ending off this year on a bit of a crescendo. Before we get too far into this video, my name is Michael. For those of you who are brand new to this channel, I want to welcome all of you back who are joining me again. I know it's been quite some time since I have been on YouTube and uploaded one of these videos. I'm super excited to see what we have in store for you. But before we dive in, I do just want to let you all know that I'm running my holiday sale. All of my services are currently 25% off on my website until December 21st. So if you are looking for a reading or Reiki session with me, now is a great time to book. I think that the new year is a great time to see what we have in store for us for the year ahead. So if you want to get a reading, now is the perfect time. All of my links are in the description box down below, as well as links for the astrology blog that accompanies this video. You can also find me on all of my other social media accounts and follow me there too. I do appreciate that. And let's see what we have in store for you for December. So some really important things to keep in mind. We are starting off December with your ruling planet Mars in your first house, in your sign, in Scorpio. And this is really giving you a lot of power. It's giving you a lot of energy. And there is also this theme this month where you might be getting a lot of aggression kind of thrown in your direction, or a lot of hostility. You might feel like you need to defend yourself. So just kind of keep that in mind, and you may need to rein some of that energy in. Mars is actually forming a very beautiful sextile with your other ruling planet, your co-ruler Pluto, on the 7th. And I'm going to be talking about both of these planets a lot in your reading. They're both doing some pretty important things this month. And because you're one of those signs that has two ruling planets, the way I would think of this for you is that Mars kind of rules over your daily life. It is the mundane, day-to-day, kind of the grind, while Pluto, being the slowest moving planet in the solar system, is really kind of the larger life themes, the chapters of your life, if you will. And whenever there's an aspect or transit happening with Pluto, that's going to kind of affect your life at a larger whole. And there's definitely quite a bit happening with Pluto this month, especially thinking about your relationships, okay? Because Venus is going to be forming a conjunction with Pluto 3 times. So the way that you are thinking about relationships is likely going to change, or the relationships you're in are likely going to change. Keep that in mind. There is actually quite a bit of emphasis on your relationships coming into this next cycle. We have the nodes shifting on the 22nd, the day after the solstice. And we have the South Node falling in your sign, and the North Node is falling into Taurus. And with the South Node in your sign, it might almost feel like you're kind of taking a back seat. There's a lot of nostalgia that you're going to be stepping into. And whenever we think of the South Node, it's what feels familiar. It's what we're kind of longing for, what we want to go back to. And I think of that in terms of this past couple of years when the South Node has been in Sagittarius. We wanted travel. We wanted to see the world. We wanted to be free and to just feel hopeful. Those are things that really came up for the collective and were kind of strained, or something that we had to move away from. And so now, with the South Node in your sign, there is some things that we are going to be letting go of. And the South Node in Scorpio really is like letting go of a lot of karma, letting go of a lot of things that are kind of serving as baggage. And so there's a lot here that you're going to have to be shedding over the next 18 months when we have the South Node in your sign. With the North Node in Taurus, which is where it's going to be because the nodes are connected, the nodes represent where the eclipses are occurring. The nodes are now, or the North Node is now in your 7th house of relationships. And the North Node represents reaching. It represents what we yearn for. So there really could be this powerful reaching for relationships. And that doesn't necessarily mean that that's the relationship for us. It doesn't necessarily make it like the perfect relationship if we meet someone during this time. There's a lot here with Uranus in Taurus that's also changing the way that you're looking at relationships. And frankly, I wouldn't be surprised if some of you are starting to look at non-traditional relationships over the next year and a half. You might be looking at things like polyamory or open relationships. You might be in relationships with people who have very different perspectives than you, or people who come from different walks of life than you. Those things would make a lot of sense to me. And I actually have your cards here and kind of preluding to what I've pulled for you. We did also have the lunar eclipse at the the end of November, on November 19th. That was really kind of shaking things up, stirring things up in relationships for you and starting you off on this new theme. And that's really going to be like, it's almost like, what do you need to change in yourself to be in relationships that you desire? That's going to be a huge, huge theme for you coming into the next year and a half. And there's a lot of focus on you because there's a lot of focus on Taurus, which is your opposite sign. What else is happening? We have Jupiter entering Pisces in your 5th house by the end of this year on the 29th. That is also bringing some potentially new energies, new people, new passions into your life, some new joy, some new things to explore there. And I think that's pretty much everything. We do actually have Saturn squaring with Uranus one last time. That's going to be pretty significant for you because that's affecting family and relationships for you. So again, how I'm kind of seeing this, there could very well be relationships that are kind of challenging your notions of what is traditional. I'm just going to kind of leave it at there for now. For the tarot cards, the first things we have in the past, the Father of Cups with the 8 of Swords. This is actually your energy, the Father of Cups. That's how I'm kind of reading this. Maybe for some of you, this represents another person, another water sign, another Scorpio, Cancer, Pisces. But this is your card specifically, and the 8 of Swords feels very isolated. You're almost recognizing how you have kept yourself isolated from other people, or kept yourself kind of imprisoned inside of yourself. And it feels like that's something you're starting to leave behind, or just something that you're starting to recognize, something you're starting to move away from here. What you've been learning from this time, 2 of Cups with the Page of Cups. You've already been learning a lot about relationships and what it is that you want. Maybe for some of you, there is this relationship that you've kind of been feeling is coming. I definitely get that sense, but it doesn't feel ripe yet. I gotta be honest. If you're single and you're wondering when a relationship is gonna come, I feel like it still needs more time to ripen, okay? And I think you kind of know that. I think you know you can't force a connection. And maybe there was even a relationship that you had left in this past cycle that kind of was teaching you about that, not rushing in relationships. Because in the present, you have the 4 of Swords and Strength. And it's like, when I see this combination of cards, it takes a lot of strength. It takes a lot of composure for you to wait, for you to rest, for you to trust in the timing of things. And maybe you feel like you've been stuck already, and that's why this is so hard with the 8 of Swords. I do want to say with the eclipse that we have on the 4th, if you feel like finances have been really challenging for you, that is actually something that's probably going to be improving over the next 6 months, and you're going to really be getting your finances in order as well. And maybe part of this restraint here is also talking about spending, not spending too much money right now, letting your money build. I feel like there's also potentially a Leo energy for some of you that's coming in. This could be a person, especially if this is someone from the past. A challenge that we have here, very, very clear to me, 6 of Cups and 6 of Wands. I know a lot of readers on YouTube are talking about people coming back from the past, exes coming back from the past, and to me it honestly seems pretty disingenuous. It kind of seems a little predatory, if I'm being totally honest with you. But these 2 cards both speak of things coming back. The Six of Cups is reconnecting to past relationships, especially things from early childhood or things that we have a long history with. And the Six of Wands often does represent the return from battle or an emerging from the cocoon, coming back to the world of some kind. And so there really could be someone who is coming back from the past, especially if there is kind of an ex with a lot of water energy or maybe some Leo energy. Keep Venus and Mars in mind for that too. Yeah, it really feels like there's a lot that is coming back from the past that you're meant to heal. And that makes a lot of sense with Venus going retrograde in Capricorn. There's a lot of old messages that are coming up and a lot of things that you're going to be sorting through because this is happening in your third house, your house of communication and also siblings. So when we're talking about family stuff, really think of siblings in particular. I think that's going to be super, super important for you to keep in mind. And you really could be, with Venus retrograde into the third house, there really could be communication with an ex or an old relationship. I know that's kind of a common theme for Venus retrograde in general. And if this isn't actual communication or conversations with someone, you could just be thinking about someone a lot. It might not be the case that you actually connect to this person. Although for a lot of you who have Scorpio placements, there's actually a pretty good likelihood that there are people coming back from the past. And I actually want to tell you to be really, really careful. I have the Seven of Swords and the Tower in the future. Yeah. You know, anyone who knows anything about tarot, whenever we see the Tower, it's kind of a big deal, right? Especially with the Seven of Swords. I feel like there's some disingenuous energy. Again, something just doesn't feel like the timing is right. And I actually went to clarify this message because I didn't want to leave you off with just the future being the Seven of Swords and the Tower. I was like, okay, give me a little more than that. The two cards that I got for you were the Ten of Cups and the Ace of Swords. So there is happiness. There is still the potential to have the relationship that you want, okay? But I think it might come in an unusual way. And it might not be what you expect. The relationship that you end up in might be very different than the relationship you think you want to be in now. And that doesn't mean that you won't be happy. But there's something about this month in particular. I want to tell you to not jump into any relationships. And there was part of me when I saw the Ace of Swords with the Ten of Cups here, kind of made me think of like a shotgun wedding or jumping into a relationship really, really quickly. Don't do that. Don't do that this month. There's still so much that's going to be shifting. And another thing that kind of occurred to me here with this Tower and Seven of Swords, I kind of wonder if you're the Tower, Scorpio. And I don't mean this in like a shady way, even though there is a Seven of Swords here. It's almost like you might not be totally honest with yourself. You might jump into a relationship with someone or go full throttle with them and realize several months down the line that you weren't being completely honest with yourself. You were kind of ignoring red flags or kind of just jumping into a relationship for the sake of being in a relationship. I think that's really a common theme that a lot of you are going to be dealing with this month, where you may have family pressure or there's some sort of belief from your upbringing that you're really going to have to parse out from your relationships. And I'm thinking that specifically with Uranus and Saturn forming one last square in your 4th and 7th house. The challenge in your relationships is kind of coming from this place of needing to change, to do something completely different with Uranus there. And Saturn is lessons, it's authority, it's dogma in some respect as well too, right? And that's kind of coming from your house of home in Aquarius. And so interestingly that those two, or at least Uranus is naturally in Aquarius. Like you really need to embrace this Aquarian energy. And again, like I'm just going to say this now, some of you may be looking at something like polyamory. Some of you may be entering into polyamorous relationships over the next year and a half, and it would be like something you never would have dreamed of. Stay open. I'm just going to kind of throw that out there. And if it's not polyamory, maybe it is, again, someone from a different walk of life, or someone who has a very different perspective than you do. And you might actually be gaining a lot from that. I kind of get the sense, kind of reminds me of like Romeo and Juliet, like clashing families or something too. Like there might be someone in your life where your family disapproves of that person, or they're really, really skeptical of that person, or you're afraid of how your family or loved ones would perceive you in that relationship, or perceive that person you're in relationship with. So those are things to just all keep in mind. The animal messages that we have for you, we have the butterfly and we have the dragonfly. So 2 insects here, 2 flying insects, a lot of air, a lot of mental stuff, which makes sense because Capricorn is your 3rd house. We're coming into that. And there's a lot of communication. There's a lot of things happening mentally, and I think with the dragonfly, sometimes this card speaks of illusions, because dragonflies kind of have that fey, iridescent sort of energy, that they shimmer. They also represent the relationship between water and air, and the way that our emotions can cloud our minds, or the way our minds can influence our emotions. I really think it's important for you to breathe this month, to kind of let things happen, even if it happens in a slower pace than feels comfortable for you. That's actually where a lot of growth is going to be happening. With the butterfly card here, there is, again, this sense of emerging, and you actually have the butterfly show up in the 6 of Wands here as well. So I do feel like some of you are starting to come out of a cocoon, come out of a chrysalis here with the 8 of Swords at the very beginning. You are finally spreading your wings. You're letting yourself be free. You're opening your heart up. And that could be opening your heart up to different possibilities. If this isn't talking about relationships, this is talking about just the way you relate to people in general. And I know, Scorpio, you like to keep things kind of private, or you might be kind of intense and withdrawn. But I actually feel like it's important for you to start figuring out how to communicate and relate with people in a more open and honest way. You are going through a lot of transformation. Both of these cards, both dragonflies and butterflies, go through a metamorphosis. So you are changing right now. And if you feel like you are waiting for a relationship, or you are hoping for a relationship and it's just not happening for you, I almost want to tell you it's because you haven't finished transforming. And anyone that you would end up in a relationship with right now, you're going to kind of outgrow. So really trust in the timing there. Don't force anything. And if you are in a relationship with someone, be open to the possibility that you might not always be compatible with that person. I know that's kind of a scary thing, but when we're really honest with ourselves, when we really just put our cards on the table and speak our truth, that's when we have the most honest and authentic connections with people. That's when we really connect. When we're afraid to have certain conversations, when we're afraid to address certain truths, we're not really in a relationship anymore, are we? So open yourself up, be open, work on that this month. I think that's something that's really going to be kind of thematic for you throughout Venus retrograde, which is going to be happening until the end of January anyway. So there's plenty of time to think about this over those 40 days. And those are all the messages that I have for you, Scorpio. I do hope that this video was helpful and resonant for you. Be sure to hit like and subscribe if it was. Let me know in the comment section down below what in particular resonated with you or what stood out to you. I'd love to hear it. I always think those synchronicities are super interesting. I know that this time of year is really challenging for many of you, and my heart goes out to anyone who is struggling or feeling lonely during this time of year. I'm wishing you a very happy, safe, and healthy December. All of my links, again, are available in the description box down below, and I will see you all in the next video. Take care.